Willard. Board of Education meeting is hereby called to order. We have the presence of a quorum. We're going to start with an act of reverence and a pledge allegiance to the flag. And the pledge will be led by Commissioner Cruz.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We have some minutes to approve, and then we're going to go into recognition of our National Board Certification Teachers and also the Yes I Can Awards. But before we do that, you receive minutes in your packet for December 13th, January 2nd, and January 10th. I'll entertain a motion from my colleagues to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Thank you. Minutes are approved. And we'll now, I'll ask my colleagues to join us down front for a recognition of the National Board Certified Teachers and the Yes I Can Awards. We're going to start with the Yes I Can Awards, and then we'll go into National Board Certified Teachers. And I'll ask Commissioner White to make the presentation for the awards.
Good evening. Oh, come on. Are you serious? We got all these folks here, and the best you can do is good. You act like you're in school. No. It is a good evening, isn't it? Do you guys believe that? I don't believe it. It's a good evening. How many of you are here from number 7 or School Without Walls? Raise your hand. All right. And what are the rest of you folks here for? National Board Certification? This is a good evening. We got all these awards being given out tonight, and the best you guys can do is... Let's try it again. Good evening. All right. It is a good evening, and I have the honor and privilege on behalf of the board to talk very briefly about the Yes We Can Awards. Many of you may recall that Barack Obama, when he first ran for president, talked about Yes We Can, and Yes You Can. The notion that we as a community can turn our community around without a president, without a mayor, without a school board, has to be something that has to be ingrained in everybody, from preachers to principals to pupils. Everybody's got to believe that they can do it. And one of the ways you get that belief, this board believes, is to recognize when it happens. And in addition to teachers who are going to be recognized today for their exemplary education and development of their skills, we ought to recognize that there are whole schools, not just individuals, but whole schools that are showing the world, showing the state, showing the nation that yes, we can. And so the board very much wanted to recognize that, and we have 2 schools that are showing that they can do everything that they put their minds and hearts to. And that's just not teachers, that's teachers and pupils and parents and principals together proving that they can make progress. We want you to believe that yes, you can do it. And we as a board believe that one of the ways you can have that belief is by seeing other people, your peers, who are doing the same thing. So, President Evans, you know the School Without Walls, right? You got the first one. You want to do that?
Let me just first call up School Without Walls, if their principals and representatives are here. And what this says is, and we're going to do this, these Yes I Can Awards that Commissioner White talked about every quarter as new results come out. And this basically says Certificate of Recognition awarded to School Without Walls Commencement Academy, presented by the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools in recognition of making significant gains of 18 percentage points in your graduation rate for the 2011-2012 cohort. And it's given the 24th day of January 2013, and we have this great award. So if the folks from School Without Walls can come forward.
I won't be long. I just want to say a couple things. My name is Dr. Idonia Owens, and I am the principal of School Without Walls. And what I'd like for you to know is that an award like this and the gains that we made last year do not come without a lot of hard work on the parts of our parents, our teachers, and most of all, on our students. So on behalf of all of them, I thank you very much.
Good evening. Well, it didn't get better, Commissioner White. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. That's what it was. It's a communications issue. I have the real honor to award a certificate to Virgil Grissom, School Number 7. If I can have the representative come up, please. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. Presented by the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools in recognition of significant gains in math and English language arts during the 2011-2012 school year, given on this 24th day of January 2013. Again, congratulations on the great job you guys are doing.
everybody. My name is Dave Lincoln. I'm the principal over at school number 7. We have been mentioning the parents and the strong support that we get from the homes, the hard work on the part of the staff and students, but also I wanted to mention tonight all of the work that our community partners really help out at our building. Folks from Free Partnerships. Today I met with our pencil partner, the LPGA, all of the work that they do, programs like Primary Project at the Children's Institute. We all working together for one cause, and that's student success, and this is proof that it can happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And again, we believe that it's very important to recognize incremental improvement in order for us to have sustained success. And we will continue to do this at future board meetings as we get more results with our schools. Next, we want to move to the National Board Certification of Teachers. We do this every board meeting, usually in January. And just a little background on the National Board Certification. It's an advanced teaching credential. It complements but does not replace a state's teacher's license. It is valid for 10 years and renewal candidates must begin the renewal process during their 8th or 9th year as NBCTs. National Board Certified certification is achieved upon successful completion of a voluntary assessment program designed to recognize effective and accomplished teachers who meet high standards based on what teachers should know and be able to do. National Board Certification is available nationwide for most pre-K through 12 teachers. As part of the certification process, candidates complete 10 assessments that are reviewed by trained teachers in their certified areas. The assessments include 4 portfolio entries that feature teaching practice and 6 constructed response exercises that assess content knowledge. The Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools would like to recognize each and every one of the National Board Certification teachers today. And the following teachers that we want to recognize for new certification. And I'll ask each of them to come forward and enjoy congratulations from my colleagues here. The first one is Mr. Logan Matthew Newman. Is he here? Kristen Frederick. In the area of English and Language Arts and Adolescence and Young Adulthood. Yep, congratulations, thank you. Richard Holland, in the area of Exceptional Needs Specialist Early Childhood through young adulthood. Mr. Holland, congratulations. Sarah Northwood, in the area of Early Childhood Generalist. Dana DeLong, in the area of Exceptional Needs Specialist Early Childhood through Young Adulthood. And Sherry Cope, is she here? Yeah, it's 2, Sarah Northwoods. Yeah, so can we get that to her? And can we just have Logan, Kristen, Richard, Sarah, Sherry, and Dana just rise one more time and be recognized, and so we can give them a big round of applause for their hard work. The following teachers will be recognized for renewing their certificates. They said, hey, we're going to do it again. Tracy Maggio. Is Tracy here? And she's in the area of Middle Childhood Generalist. Also, Mr. Charles O. Hall, also in the area of middle child generalist. Is Mr. Hall here? Long time no see. And Mr. Joseph Zuniga in the area of science and adolescence and young adulthood. Congratulations to being recognized for your hard work and excellence. We greatly appreciate this. National Board Certified Teachers are something that the board pays attention to a lot. We always wonder how we can get more, and also how we make sure that we use your expertise and put you in places where you are needed most. So congratulations to all of you, and I look forward to presenting these awards again next year. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. We do have some speakers addressing an agenda item. Being that we have about 8 speakers altogether, I'm going to call all speakers during this time period, so that way those not on an agenda item will have to wait around. So we'll start with our first speaker, the student, Shoshana Moran. Is Shoshana here?
How's this thing work? Oh, no. You don't do anything. Shanae just. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah, we don't do it.
When I think of my teachers who I can turn to, I felt at loss because okay, yeah. When I think of my teachers who I can turn to, I feel at loss because the teachers don't create an environment where I feel comfortable. Rather, speaking about my personal life or struggles I face academically, who do I turn to? In my experiences, I always felt any teacher expected me to just pass without taking the time to see what I don't know or understand. Maybe if we have some type of positive engagement that will foster stronger relationships between students and teachers, students will be more open to learning.
Hello. My name is Naeem Wilcox, and I'm a recent graduate of James Monroe High School. Yeah, class of 2012, just so you know. All right, one of the major issues that I faced at James Monroe High School transferring into the district from another district is the lack of communication, meaning, and also favoritism that teachers show other students, meaning that I lost out on opportunities to join certain clubs because of teachers showing favoritism to other students, and I didn't get to have the bond and connection with my teachers because of this. And I don't want my peers at James Monroe High School to face the same thing. And I believe that by making clubs and other organizations in our school, resources known to students, more prevalent, that it'll increase attendance, and also that it will help with the school climate. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here speaking as a parent. Thank y'all. As a tax-paying member of this community and a member of the Community Education Task Force, we were all shocked and surprised to discover last week that a teacher was removed from school 19 because he was under investigation for sexually abusing a child under the age of 11 years old. Now, I know that information has an error in it. For people who we met with yesterday, we're just finding out as of yesterday that the teacher actually was removed from school number 54. The teacher was employed at school number 54. A letter was sent home day before yesterday by children explaining this, that this teacher actually was at school 54 rather than 19, is what the media reported. So everywhere I say 19, you should insert 54. We were further shocked and surprised to learn that school number 54 parents and guardians were not notified of the fact that this teacher had been removed. We were absolutely baffled that according to a statement made to the press by a top-level Rochester City School District administrator, there's no policy within the Rochester City School District that stipulates that parents have to be notified of such situations. We were and we are totally baffled by a statement by the same top-level administrator that such decisions are left up to the principals of respective buildings. And by the way, I wanted to say, I know many of you, some of you, operate out of this idea that, well, it's Howard and a couple others again, but you see the parents standing here, and there are other parents out here, and community members, grandparents, so this is not just Howard this time, and the Community Education Task Force. This is broad-based. None of this is acceptable. As Rochester City School District parents, grandparents, other relatives, and tax-paying citizens, we are here to request development and passage with all deliberate speed of a policy that stipulates in plain language that anytime any Rochester City School District employee is removed from the classroom and or a school building for any act that rises to the level of criminal behavior, that parents must be notified within 24 hours or less. There really is nothing to ponder or debate, nothing to research. This one is straightforward. Our understanding of the way in which board policy gets developed is that language is introduced at the board's policy development and review committee meetings, and then advanced to the full board to be voted on. Commissioner Cruz, since you're the chairperson of that committee, and Commissioner Campos and Commissioner Powell, since you are also members of that committee, we're counting on you all to develop the language for the new policy and take it up at your February 7th committee meeting. And we'll be there, and our expectation is that that you all will have this on your agenda on the 7th, and that you will advance the language for the new policy to the full board in a timely manner so that the full board can approve the new policy at your February 24th board meeting. And we'll be here. And in this particular case, there's really nothing to fight about. This is not about a fight. This is straightforward. It's a straightforward matter in terms of our students and families' rights. So we look forward to seeing you all on February 7th and again on February 24th. And I'm requesting that these comments be made part of the official record of this meeting. And again, everywhere where I have 19 on the paper, would you please insert school 54? Thank you.
Ms. McCray? I didn't see Mr. Jacobs. Sam Jacobs? Melanie Morose? Melanie is here? Thank you. Is Sharon Jones here? Okay, Ms. Jones, you will follow Ms. Morose.
I'm here as a representative from Generation 2 to update the board on our activities in the district. And my friend Maya, who was a student in the Generation 2 program last year, is here to pass out brochures. Generation 2 is a program that's been in the district for 9 years. We are in schools 3, 4, and 36. We're serving 298 children in the district at this time, and we have 90 volunteers working in the district in this program. What our volunteers do is they come into school buildings and they work in groups, in one-to-one relationships with children who are in kindergarten through 2nd grade. At school 3, we work with kindergartners. At school 4, we have 1 kindergarten class and 1 first grade class. And at school 36 this year, we have 9 classes. So at school 36, we're servicing every child in grades K through 2. The focus of our program is to develop supportive, nurturing relationships with the children who are in the classrooms. Every child in a classroom participates, so there's no stigma attached to participating in our program. It's universal. The children, as Maya did last year, have a friend that they come and they spend 30 minutes with their friend every week playing one-on-one with whatever the child would like to do. This is a great opportunity for children to be active learners in their education instead of a passive learner. They're allowed to do what they want with their friend. They make their own choices from the supplies that we have, and they really have a good time, and they do develop relationships. And these relationships do persist over the years. I currently work in school 3. We have kids that we had 6 years ago in the program who still every week come to their friend who they played with for 30 minutes when they were in first grade, and they want contact with that person week after week. They want a hug, they want an update on what they're doing in their lives and how much the program meant to them and how much the friendship meant to them. We appreciate the district's support in the program. One of the things that I want to point out is the research studies that we have related to our program. The children who are in our program self-report on forms that we give to both them, and the teachers also report similar data that the children like themselves, like their teachers, like their peers, and like school more than children who are not in the program. They also have more pro-social behaviors, which means that they are less likely to get into trouble in school. They have fewer disciplinary referrals. We suspect that they may have better attendance, as has been reported to us anecdotally by principals in the buildings and by teachers. And they also enjoy, now this year we've added a new question to our survey forms, and they are also reporting that they like to read more than kids who are not in our program. I personally think the most important thing about our program is that the children say they like school more than kids who aren't in it. And if kids don't like school by 2nd grade, they're probably not going to like it by 5th grade, and they're probably not going to show up by 10th grade. So I think that that's the most significant finding. One other thing I'd like to mention about the research that we do that's conducted by Dr. Richard Ryan at the University of Rochester is that the control group we're using in this, for those of you who are familiar with research techniques, are not other children just in the Rochester City School District. Our pool is combined of children who are both in the Fairport School District, who are in Generation 2 programs, and in the Rochester City School District. And the kids in this district are scoring higher than kids in Fairport who aren't in the program. And I know that's not something we hear very often, that kids in the city are scoring higher on something than kids in a suburban district, but that's clearly the case here, that our kids like school more.
Thank you.
We appreciate your support.
Thank you, Ms. Morose.
Thank you.
Sharon Jones, Ms. Jones. And then Ms. Jones will be followed by Sarah Yawarski. Is Ms. Yawarski here? Okay, Ms. Yawarski, you'll follow Ms. Jones. Good evening, Ms. Jones.
Good evening. I first want to commend you on the positive things that have taken place already this evening. And to follow up with your theme here, yes, we can. Yes, we can protect our kids. We can equip our employees, I'm referring to the school district right now, with training programs to identify abuse. Yes, we can adopt our policies to reflect reporting to parents that have a right to know about sensitive topics as the one we're addressing tonight. Yes, we can provide periodic reviews of policies. Yes, we can follow Education Law number 1604. Yes, we can utilize the criteria that you already have in place for policy analysis. Does this look familiar to anyone? Okay, thank you. Now, I understand confidentiality, and I understand the sensitiveness of something like this, of this magnitude, but I also understand that you cannot justify the comments that were made in a recent article in the newspaper. According to WHEC, I believe it was on the 16th of January. Yes, we can. We can do something about what just happened going forward, and we will do something. And people like me will be right here to make sure that something is going to be done, plain and simple. I'm an educator, I'm a student, I'm a parent. I don't have any children in the district, but I was a student of the district, and I believe that we still have what it takes to ensure quality education and safety for our children, plain and simple. We can't hide behind language. We can't hide behind policies. We have to follow the board bylaws right here that says you have to review these policies every 2 years. It's kind of ironic that taken right off your website, it's dated for August the 20th, 1998. What does that say about our district? I'll just leave you with that. But I believe, yes, we can. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of all the students that potentially something like this could go on again.
Thank you. Ms. Jaworski?
Hi, my name is Sarah Jaworski, and I'm here to talk about the school modernization plan. Just so you know that every day our neighborhood, the 19th Ward, is continuing to work on this problem, and I know we talk to you about it frequently, but we're going to talk about it again. And microphone. Sorry. Is that better? Yeah. We also want to remind you, we appreciate the work of the boards and task forces involved in the modernization plan, clearly aimed at improving opportunities for our children and the residents of Rochester, who are impacted by the quality of education here, whether they know it or not. I'm not sure there's an adjective that accurately describes the challenges faced, and people don't just give up is amazing to me, and I'm amazed at the number of quiet heroes that I've met while delving into this process. And as it continues, it becomes increasingly clear that there are no perfect solutions and hard and perfect choices to be made. The consequences of these decisions are huge, both in terms of public money spent and the impact on the character of our neighborhoods and city for generations to come. One of the wisest considerations I see articulated in the draft plan is concern for maximizing flexibility for future options in alternative school choice methodology, school choice versus neighborhood schools. And we admittedly don't know how to fix all our problems right now. And Dr. Vargas has made it really clear that the pressures of charter schools is impacting our planning. He recognizes that parents won't put their children at risk if they have any other options. But school choice is an absolute necessity for a struggling school district, and neighborhood schools are the preference for a successful community, which we saw when Mayor Richards applauded the misnamed, I guess, homeschool guarantee, because of the strong preference of parents who expect quality schools to want them in their neighborhood where they live. So our dilemma is to meet current needs while maintaining flexibility in case we actually succeed, which I think we will. Unfortunately, this draft plan seems predicated on an expectation of failure as far as the 19th Ward is concerned, in that it maximizes mega superfunded schools to serve what seemed to be the expectation of fewer remaining children, after all, who can abandon the public schools do. In its recommendation for the Southwest Quadrant, it creates a self-fulfilling plan for permanent failure by closing most of our schools. While a vague promise of a new future bigger school in the neighborhood is made, it's unrealistic given the reality of our densely residential neighborhood and the proven damage done when all neighborhood options are removed for more than a year or two. So we urge you to work with us to develop a better plan, even if it means some use of funds for potentially temporary fixes. The money won't be wasted to reopen School 16, short of a full rebuild, because it preserves the future possibility of a successful neighborhood school in our neighborhood, which has proven itself committed to a high quality of neighborhood life. I believe we all believe we could come up with a better plan if we take the time to look at all the options. And we hope you can give that time to us, and we believe the payoff will be worth it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jaworski. Let me thank our speakers for coming out this evening. I know that a few of our speakers spoke about the incident regarding the alleged charge related to School 19, and I want you to know that the board asked similar questions that you have asked, and we will definitely, without a doubt, be following up on protocols and procedures as it relates to alerting parents when these types of incidences take place. So I want to thank folks for bringing their concerns tonight. We're now going to move on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Superintendent, you have a presentation for us, but I think that we can see it on our screen, so we don't have to come sit down in the audience, because we're technological now, so we can follow along by standing right up here. I don't know if you want to stand and do it, or you want to
stand and do it.
Okay,
It will
all right,
help my back.
all right, that's good. So feel free, but we're gonna sit right here.
Some nice technology.
Is the screen coming down?
Everybody in the audience could look at this is something new. This is our first meeting, President Evans, where we're in use the high tech, if you will. So, and I just wanted to know, in the spirit of high tech, we also, in our school, when you go into it, you'll be surprised what you are able to see in terms of technology. So, President Evans, and I'm going to talk to you tonight about the governor budget as related to our situation. Are those screens working? Yeah, but the one right in front of you. Oh, okay. Okay, great. Terrific. So, that's terrific. So, the overview of the state budget, many of you are familiar with the presentation that the governor made it last Tuesday. Once again, he's proposing, which is familiar to you, $711 million on foundation aid. Our staff deserves a lot of credit in terms of the finance office. When I presented to you the gap, the serious problem that you have, which I'm sure we are going to be facing, is a very serious problem, but we are not going to turn it into a crisis. We immediately, one of the things that was projected was that we were going to get around 3% on foundation aid, and our staff were right on target on that. In addition to that, the governor is proposing $203 million on fiscal stabilization, which will go to district like ours. We need some stability, so that is welcome new. We are pretty happy with that. Also, another area that we are very, very, very happy is with the $75 million that I grant money, which are targeting our priority. As I have said to you, we need, the number one problem that we need to fix before we do anything else in this district is that we had to increase the instructional time that our children receive. They are receiving less instruction than any other children in Monroe County, and perhaps in the state. Into some situation, I think that we are behind for the most part on the nation. So that is a work that I have undertaken. I need your help. I'm sure I have your support. I had the support of the community and teacher, because this is common sense. You cannot give the kid that need the most the least instructional time. So we applaud the governor for calling and targeting support for extended learning. For pre-K, President Evans, before you were born, I think you were for pre-K. So we are delighted because this is not just giving us more resources, but giving us for the right reason. You cannot achieve what we want to achieve here, which is to get our children to read by 3rd grade, if you don't provide strong universal pre-K, which is full day, which the governor, again, is calling for. Community school, that is something that Rochester, and I know many of you, Commissioner Adams, that I'm sure this should be music to your ear, because you have been having conversation with me about community school. Again, he's targeting that, which is part of our priority. So we are delighted with the direction that the governor has given us, and also with some additional resources. In addition to that, the pension, which is one of the areas where was causing a significant problem for us, which again, our finance folks projected correctly. We were going to significant amount of dollars in terms of our gap was due to the pension. And again, the governor is calling to give districts some help with that. Our staff are analyzing in terms of what kind of recommendation we are going to be advancing to you, but it's something that in the next few weeks we are going to come to you with some recommendation in terms of what position we are going to take. Again, to summarize, $64 million are going to go for competitive grant, which we believe the Rochester City School District is well positioned to compete for: universal pre-K, extended learning time, community school, our early, and also early college high school. As you know, we have some of those initiatives in place, but we do need the resources, which we applaud the governor for calling for that. For the Rochester City School District, the proposed budget in the aggregate is called for an increase around 5.2% increase, which is equivalent to around $23.7 million. The increase, as you know, was calculated on our projected gap, which I presented to you several weeks ago, a couple of months ago, which was for the district was $50 million. Again, we were off by $1.6 million, so that would bring our gap to by around $51.6 million. However, here's the things that we must take into account. Because of the pension release, there is an implication, potential implication for around $16 million. Again, that will reduce our gap to around $35 million. So once again, this is our projection. We're still looking at it, but nevertheless, if you take into account the total proposal from the governor to what does it mean to Rochester, our gap will be decreased, which will allow us to, again, to do more for our children. At the same time that we are meeting a serious challenge. As I said, we do have a challenge here, but it's not a crisis. We are working very hard. Everyone in the district, from central office to the principal and the school, and everyone at the school level are working pretty hard on this issue. And in the very near future, we are going to go into the community when we have more solid data and explain to them what services we're going to have available for the students. One thing that you must rest assured is that a budget is a statement of values. So what are our values? We said that we're going to have to give our kids more instructional time. So we are looking for a way to do that. Universal pre-K, we're going to have to take a look at that. The early class size, if we are going to get our children to read by third grade, we're going to have to do much more than what we're doing today in pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, and you're going to see some serious effort toward that end. Now, as far as the pension is concerned, we are going to, the reason we are not giving you a definite answer is because we had to do due diligence. We had to know what does this mean for the district. So once we are comfortable with what position and direction we want the district to take, we will come to you on that. And we are going to examine the long-term impact or the pension proposal by the governor. Again, this is something that if it's passed, will be available to the district, but we will have to make, each individual district is asked to examine this and take a position whether we want to participate on this or not. Again, tonight I'm not in a position to present to you any recommendation because we are not ready yet. We don't have all the information or what does it mean for the district, not just on the short term, but also on the long-term implication. We want to make sure that what we do today doesn't have an adverse impact 5, 10 years from now, because it would not be prudent to do that. So again, to recapture, if a families are listening tonight, we are bringing stability to the district, and we also, even though it sounds like a big challenge, how are you going to give our children more if you have less resources for next year? I have one simple answer, and what that means is that we are not going to continue to spend the money the same way we have been spending it in the past. So we're going to have to make certain adjustments, which we will do that, and then when I present the budget, you will see, again, the true reflection of our values. Once again, a budget is a statement of values and priority, and you will see that. And I ask each board member that when you talk to families and parents, you can say with certainty that just because we have a budget gap, you will continue to have art, music, sport, extracurricular activity, AP, and yes, our parents and family can rest assured that essential services will be available to them. I thank you again, and I look forward not only talking with you, but also with our community about how we are going to continue to meet this challenge. Thank you, President Ever.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Just let me say, I'm sure my colleagues, we may have some questions, but I just want to say that the board had a session last week in this room in which we discussed many of the things that the governor laid out. So this is a unique opportunity for, I believe, for us as a district to strike when the iron is hot. I mean, we've been talking about community schools in Rochester for a long time. We've been talking about pre-K for a long time. I will be interested, and I know you don't have answers yet on this, on what this pension thing will mean. Whether or not it's something that's advantageous to us now, or whether or not we're kicking the can down the road. Because my understanding is that with the pension obligation, it could help us in these closer years, but we may have greater obligations in the later years if we're just deferring the cost. So I'll be very interested to hear what finance has to say about pension relief, which I know is also a concern to the city and county. So looking forward to hearing about that.
I think what the governor is proposing, the first phase, what the governor is proposing makes a lot of sense to me so far. And here's how I view this. This is like how we pay our electrical bill, our electricity. You definitely would pay more in the winter in Western New York than you would pay, let's say, in June. So because of the Tier 6, to his credit, last year he did introduce some serious reform to the pension system, as it referred to it's referred as a Tier 6, which is mean that 10, 15 years, 20 years from now, the district will be paying less into the pension system. Therefore, from the standpoint of planning, you can make certain projection that you will be paying less. And therefore, what the governor is proposing is say, let's balance your payment for the next 20-plus year. Like I say, it's sort of like if you have an annual electrical bill, but you will pay monthly rather than the same amount, rather than paying higher amount in January and very low amount, let's say, in June in Western New York. I mean, that's the simplest way that I can. But behind that, there's not, I'm not advancing any recommendation tonight, because you are correct. We need to look at this in a more careful way, and I wonder if Bill wants to say something to that regard, because that's an important point that Commissioner Evans is, President Evans is bringing to us.
I think you stated it accurately, and you know, my nature is you know, we want to fully, you know, analyze this and vet this. A lot of the details really are not you know, rolled out yet, so it's important that we fully understand this, because this is a very large issue. That being said, you know, we have advocated for pension reform and a stabilization. So to the extent that this has been advanced, that's tremendous. Now,
Right.
So we're very appreciative that this has been advanced. We just want to study it before we make a recommendation to you. But we also wanted to be transparent about, you know, the potential impact in the near term, to the extent that we could identify it in 2 days. So that's our struggle here, is to be as transparent as quickly as we can. So that's what we're trying to do tonight.
Thank you. Welcome news. Any other questions or comments for the superintendent on the impact of the governor's proposed 13-14 budget stuff? Commissioner Powell?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to reiterate what I stated at our board goal-setting meeting last week, and say that, well, quite frankly, there aren't any surprises here. We knew that the governor was in favor of competitive grants, and the problem here is that this doesn't help us do what we've been doing, which is going to cost us more than 3% more just to do what we've been doing. It's a little bit like all high needs districts have received this 1-2 punch. We've had to cope with a gap elimination program that limits how much new money comes to us, and the governor's very proud of his personal wealth index addition to the education budget, that says that the education portion of the budget is not going to grow any faster than New York State's personal income. Except for the problem that the state of New York committed in 2007 to a course of action that was to rectify a constitutional injustice. A constitutional injustice. And 200 high needs districts across the state are struggling under less than optimal funding, and now hogtied by a gap elimination and the personal wealth index. And most of them also hampered by a property tax cap. Now, Dr. Vargas is correct. We're probably very well positioned to be successful at any competitive grants. That's all the more reason why we in Rochester need to stand up and say the right thing to do is to enact the contract for excellence in its entirety. It's not, there's no moral high ground for us to say, oh, we can win with this, so we'll just bail on all the other high needs districts in this state. That's not the moral high ground. Everyone does that. That's why politicians feed table scraps to the dogs, so that we all fight amongst each other for the scraps instead of going to the principle of the matter and saying we all deserve more as a constitutional right in this state. So my ask is that Dr. Vargas, when you make your presentation to the governor in response to the budget next week, that you clearly articulate support for full implementation of the 2003 Contract for Excellence, or a plan to get us there. It's the only right thing to do. These competitive grants allow us to do more things on the fringes. But Dr. Vargas, you remember the days as a board member when the state had a program for class size reduction for first, second, and third grades, and so did the federal government. And that's like the only thing you could get money for. So eventually we're going to get to the place where the only thing we could support in this district was first through third grade, and everything else could go to hell. All right, that's the way these systems cannibalize our resources. And I could go on and on. I've been reading Michael Rebel's work with great interest about the constitutional issues. And the two things that were done in 2012 make it essential that we stand our ground this year. As a board, as a district, I understand, Dr. Vargas, that your job and the job of your administration is to work with what you got. But I'm asking my colleagues to stand with me and have you send a message to the governor about what we think is the right thing to do.
Thank you. Anything else for Commissioner Adams?
I'd just like to support Commissioner Powell's statements just now, and just a slightly different point on the same issue of competitive grants versus fundamental stable funding for educational programs. Not only is it a problem in terms of stability and predictability over the long run of whether a grant, however excellent purpose it serves, is available, we also have to be concerned, just as you described correctly about really carefully analyzing the pension contingencies, we have to also really carefully analyze what the grants prescribe to us and whether that really is in the best interest of educating our children. And I think we have many examples of cases where funds that are, we have these grant funds, so we spend them, but the money could be so much more wisely used if we were able to have our teaching and learning departments identify areas for expenditure. So not just the instability and year-to-year questioning of whether the grant will be available, but also the nature of the grants and what roads they take us down. I ask you to, again, emphasize fulfilling contract for excellence, fundamental stable funding, and then grants really should not play anywhere near the significant role they do, either from the federal or state sources, in my opinion. So I would ask you to carry that message.
Thank you. Anything else on the governor's proposed budget?
Just to be quick and simple, I would, as Rush Limbaugh would say, ditto, mega dittos. However, I do want to recognize that it's a tight balancing act that the superintendent has to do. He's got to make sure that we can address these budget issues that we have. And the way to do that, as we are given at this particular time, seems to be these sort of temporary stopgap measures, these opportunities. So I am in agreement totally with Commissioner Powell and Commissioner Adams, although at the same time I can appreciate why the superintendent, or anybody for that matter, might think, well, the enforcing the contract for excellence, and Commissioner Powell, I've said to you, whatever services I can lend in that regard as a lawyer, I would. But the same token, the reality of that happening in the immediate future is not like it now. What the superintendent is telling us is there's an immediate possibility or prospect we stand in a good position to get some of these grants. And so it's a tough spot that we're in. You talk about dogs and scraps at the table, but do you bite the hand that feeds you? That's a tough question, and it's not going to be easy. So for what it's worth, I think everybody's in a tough spot here. I think Commissioner Powell and Commissioner Adams are asking for a long-term solution, but I think the superintendent is looking at a budget deficit next year that has to be addressed. It's not going to be addressed by a lawsuit.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Cruz, and then you got the last word.
Yes, I'll be very brief. I guess my other concern is that there's some great initiatives, there's some money this year for those initiatives. And I think the question becomes, what's going to happen year 2, year 3, year 4, after districts have committed themselves to putting these programs into place? Because we all know that once you put programs into place, there is a kind of subtle assumption that we will assume the responsibility for those grants and those programs, which is not a possibility at this point. So I think, part of your message, Mr. Superintendent, should be, if you're going to commit to these items, that you make a long-term commitment to them so that we don't put all these things out here, have our parents get excited about full-time, extended day, after-school programs, only to have them withdrawn after a year or two. And I think that's an important consideration in this, in the governor's budget. Thank you.
That's an excellent point, and we also are doing exactly what you're saying is what we need from Albany, what we need to do internally. Because for us to earn the credibility that we need to have, we also need to convey to people that we are planning appropriately, taking into account what you just said, which is, in what way are you going to sustain those programs? Counting on future revenue from the state, but also what can you do internally? Because what we cannot continue to do, which I said to the governor, I said, and I will continue to say, do not give the Rochester City School District significant amount more dollars unless we change the instructional time. So, and part of our planning is also to say to Albany, and I think I'll listen to Commissioner Adam, is for us to say, what is that we want to do for kids, for children in Rochester? And because sometimes we are asked to do things that we don't want to do. And I could give you plenty of examples of practice that we have in this district. Actually, this board and the superintendent sometimes is criticized because say, how come you're spending money that way? But the money sometimes is earmarked for certain tasks that doesn't necessarily match our priorities.
Last question. The state comptroller has a sign off on the anything in terms as it relates to pension, right? So I guess we have to wait to see when that's going to happen, and then we go from there in terms of that, because I know that probably would drive a lot of our budget discussions. So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for your presentation. Do you have anything else to add? Or you're all good? Oh, thank you. We'll move on to board standing committee reports. Is our student rep is here, Ms. Gallivan. Dr. Gallivan, you have a report for us?
Thank you. Yes. Student Leadership Congress and Superintendent Advisory Group both meet next week because we didn't want to have meetings while students have exams. But I do have a few quick things to say. Before I continue with my report, I would just like to welcome and congratulate Ms. Pacheco on her new position. I'm looking forward to working with you. So now to my report. Student Leadership Congress attended the race exhibit launch at Asbury First Methodist Church, and we were the student representatives for the group, and it was community representatives and members of all walks of life, ages, backgrounds, so it was really interesting. But at one of the tables that Student Leadership Congress members was at, Jim Lawrence from the DNC was sitting with us, and he asked us after because as a Congress we're going to go through the exhibit, after we go through it, if he could interview us, and then we asked him, why don't you come with us? So we're going to pick a date within the next few weeks, and he's actually going to write an article about student perspective on race in the exhibit. So that's really cool. On another note, Student Leadership Congress has been fortunate enough to go to Washington for the past 2 years through the Close-Up Foundation. And I don't know if you watch CNN, but it was actually on CNN a few days ago, which was really cool. But we've been in touch with representatives from the organization, and they actually want more Rochester City School District kids to go on the trip this year because they were so impressed with us, which is really exciting. But this also means we have to work on fundraising more. So I know budgets and times are tough, but students are going to be working on fundraising and asking for donations so that we can have as many students as possible represent the Rochester City School District and develop ourselves as young civic leaders. So thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to take up a collection now. Brother White will get the plate, pass it. Now, Bowen's reaching into his pocket. We don't want the stuff that jingle. We only want the stuff that folds, my brother. So.
Amen to that.
We're going to, a little bit of levity is good, folks, you know. We'll go to Commissioner Powell in the Finance Committee report. She's a preacher's kid, so she knows what that's all about.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I gotta get a particular image out of my head now. Okay, the Finance Committee met last week, January 17th. Covered resolutions 420 through 427, so it was a fairly light agenda. We did review the December finance reports, and I move that the board receive those. The December financial reports.
Is there a move? Move? Second? Second. All right. There's been a motion to approve the monthly financial reports that you received in your packets. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Commissioner Powell?
4 of the resolutions refer to educational facilities. 2 of them have to do with our facilities modernization plan, specifically Monroe and Franklin. At Franklin, we're talking about the auditorium space in particular. And then the last 2 are information management and technology. Have to do with the chancery system, if I'm remembering correctly. We did approve the 2013-14 budget calendar. We don't have a copy of it in front of us, but we would like for this body to...
You want a formal motion to approve the calendar?
I will make that motion that we approve the budget calendar.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the budget calendar. That means more meetings and more work, but we will approve it. It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioner Powell.
Actually, it's pretty much the same meetings we have this time every year.
Every year.
We are trying to do one different thing. The community conversation around the FMP was seemed really inspired, and we want to try to do something like that as an additional public outreach as a board. And the available time on the calendar looks like somewhere between the first and second public hearing. So that would be a little bit of a departure from past years. So that concludes the Finance Committee report. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, February 12th. That, again, is a departure from our usual time and day. Tuesday, February 12th at 5:30 p.m. And that concludes my report. As a matter of personal privilege,
yes,
myself and several of the board members will be going to the Federal Relations Network this weekend and into Tuesday to lobby the federal legislators for passage of the essentially update of the No Child Left Behind IDEA, and so that should be an interesting time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Commissioner White in the ESA Committee.
This is just so Malik can continue his conversation. This is cover. The Excellence in Student Achievement Committee met on Monday, January 14th, to receive a presentation from the Coalition for Justice in education, a community coalition comprised basically of concerned citizens, active retired educators, administrators, college professors, business people, parents, and concerned citizens. The coalition wanted to present to the ESA committee because they were concerned about a number of issues within our community. They expressed particular concern about privatization and standardization in education. They are also concerned about the excessive use of high-stakes testing. Additionally, they are concerned about the impact, as we all are, related to poverty in the classroom and the impact it has on students and staff. The lack of literacy education was an articulated concern. The need for stronger elementary education programs, the lack of curriculum, emphasis on critical thinking skills, student interests, the arts, music, and the joy of learning. They were finally also concerned about teacher training that does not encourage active student engagement and creativity. The Excellent Student Achievement Committee welcomes opinions of folks, and we're blessed to have a staff that keeps us informed as to what the district is doing and what other national and local school boards and administrations are doing. But we occasionally invite community activists and concerned citizens with an equal amount of experience to express their concerns and their ideas, and we are very fortunate to have this group make a presentation. Finally, CJE presented their desire to see a greater focus on early childhood education, arts integration practices, and education for the 21st century. After the presentations were made in each of these areas, the presenters gave suggestions as how to incorporate their ideas into the district's curriculum. Again, we welcome their voices. And the other thing, as President Evans indicated, we see possible opportunities to synthesize what these advocates are calling for with what the governor is suggesting and what our superintendent has proposed over the last year or so since he's been here. Our next meeting of the Excellent Student Achievement Committee will take place on Monday, February 11th at 6 p.m. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. White. Commissioner Cruz and the Policy Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Policy Committee met on Thursday, the 17th of January, reviewed a number of policies, including additional changes to the purchasing policy and some revisions that have been presented to the board. To allow time for my colleagues to review these additional proposed changes, I would like to make a motion to table Resolution 2012-13, number 433, regarding the adoption of the proposed purchase policy until next month. In addition, the members of the Policy Committee considered two new policies, school uniforms policy and the kindergarten attendance policy. The school uniforms policy is intended to clarify a number of issues. Two particular issues of interest. The district cannot pay for or provide school uniforms because that would be considered a gift under the law, and General Counsel Ed Lopez is really working on that with his staff. Thank you very much for working with us and the Policy Committee to really help us to understand what this policy, there's so much confusion around this policy, and the Policy Committee is really trying to get down to the bottom in terms of what we can and cannot do. So thank you, Mr. Lopez. The other issue is that students cannot be suspended or denied an education just because they don't have uniforms, and there's been some discussion about that as well. So we're looking to further clarify that. The violation of school uniform requirements cannot be used to impose disciplinary consequences if the family is unable to pay for uniforms. And then we also have the issue of religious objections to uniform that we're also going to explore. So we're going to spend some time on this to make sure that the district as an institution and also in its communities completely understand this particular situation so that we can help families understand better how to deal with this. In terms of proposed kindergarten attendance policy, an interesting conversation we had. The law basically doesn't say you have to send your child to kindergarten, which is interesting. But if you do send your child to kindergarten, you have mandatory attendance. At age 5, I should say. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. So So there's some issues there. Students, General Counsel Lopez will be working with us to make some revisions, and we're going to be talking about that in the February meeting, so we can also do some clarification there as well. The Policy Committee also reviewed proposed revisions of the district policy against harassment of students and employees. The revision is really quite minor. Minor was as a result of the New York State Medicaid Compliance Officer's review of our claims, and what they're asking us to do is to insert the word intimidation as well as where we already have retaliation. And we're making that small change to the policy. It's up before you tonight as an informational item for your review. The committee continues to explore ways to monitor implementation of board policies and to examine existing policy requirements for deliverables from the administration. And we're really taking some time to look at existing policies. Ed Lopez and his staff have made a point to begin reviewing current policies and see how we're adopting them, look at what we're doing, which is fine. We're also looking at what we're maybe not doing or falling short on, and we will review those as part of the policy committee's work over this next year. Our next policy committee meeting will be held on February the 7th at 5:30.
Commissioner Cruz, you caught me out there. You made a motion to table Resolution 433.
I'm going to, yeah, I didn't.
No one seconded it, so can I get a second to Commissioner?
Well, I didn't want to pull, I'm sorry, Mr. President, I didn't know if I wanted to do that now or just put it as part of the package.
Yeah, we can do it now, being that you made the motion. Can we get a second to table 433, being that policy committee is still working on that? Second. Table goes straight to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Campos, and the Board Governance Committee.
Well, mine is very short in the fact that we have a board retreat this coming Saturday. So we all should have received the agendas and board and district leadership retreat. So we look forward to that on Saturday, as well as thank you all for submitting the reviews for Dr. Vargas, and we'll be able to have that conversation towards the end of the month. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
And State of the School is next Tuesday.
No,
correct?
it's been moved to February
6th.
February 6th.
February 6th.
It's been moved to February 6th. We're sending the superintendent to Antarctica, so he's got to.
So he can find his way back?
Yeah.
May not have very far to go.
Commissioner Adams and the Audit Committee.
The Audit Committee met on January 8th to perform their annual review of the audit charter. The committee reviewed and discussed the charter, and there are no changes proposed. The committee also reviewed a status update on the activities performed by the Office of Auditor General. The Audit Committee is seeking board approval for Resolution 438, which is included under other resolutions in your packet this evening. This resolution is to utilize audit staff from Hungerford-Vinton to supplement the Office of Auditor General staffing for the current year audit plan. This resource is required due to staff turnover in the Office of Auditor General. This concludes my report. And quick point of personal privilege, President. One item real quick is that I would like to thank Commissioner White for the report on the Excellence in Student Achievement Committee meeting, and I would just like to also thank the members of the community, retired administrators, college professors, educational experts who came in and shared their knowledge and wisdom and long experience having served in the district with us. And I would just like to ask that the administration, as much as possible, listen and give feedback if there are things that they're saying because they're not part of the institution right now and they're not as closely, relating to some of the very specific regulations coming from the State Education Department. If things that are being offered and suggested seem like they're really great ideas, but if there are specific obstacles, it would be really helpful for us to help to understand those sort of in real time so that we're not left, seeing a really logical, reasonable way forward, and then us not having the benefit of the doubt of the administration's knowledge regarding very specific, very current prescriptions that would cause problems. So just a request for as much collaboration as possible, as much guidance, and as much goodwill toward, taking the ideas from the community representatives. And then one other quick point, I wanted to appreciate the special meeting that's scheduled for February 5th at 5:30 and encourage parents, community members to attend. Dr. Murphy, thank you for your setting this meeting up, and this will cover Common Core and accountability designations, and I think it's really important for parents who are wondering about Common Core, how it's going to work, how it relates to extended hours and extended year, all of those kind of questions. I think that it will be a very valuable meeting, and I appreciate that that's been set up for us.
Thank you. You just gave my report. Just kidding. Is our parent person here today? Oh, okay. Our parent representative, Ms. Lucas, and she's joined by. I know both of these ladies, Ms. Robertson and Ms. Jones.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners, Superintendent, Ms. Galvin. I'm Candace Lucas, the President of the Parent Advisory Council, and I want to introduce you to the two other executive members, Ms. Makita Salone, who is the Vice Chair of the Council, and Victoria Robertson, who is the Secretary for the Council. And to let you know that we've decided we're going to rotate these presentations to the board so that you are fully aware that the Parent Council is a group of individuals that are working collectively. So I just wanted to introduce you today so that you knew who you'd be seeing in future months. Okay. I stand alone. All right. Leadership is lonely. Okay, so I just want to start off by saying I joined the superintendent and Adam Urbanski at the National Time Collaborative launch event on Monday, December 3rd in Washington. I was honored to be a part of that trip as the parent representative. I was able to learn about the extended day program firsthand and definitely commend the district on moving in this direction and understanding that we need some radical change in order to address the issues that we have. We understand that the district's intent is to have 20% of the schools implement the extended day program beginning in September 2013 with the goal of having all schools with the extended day program. As parents, we just want to be assured that parental input is sought, received, and included in the extended day programs. We understand that a major part of this initiative will be targeted toward professional development for teachers, as it should be, but we also want to be assured that some of the professional development will include learning how to cultivate relationships with parents and guardians, respecting the cultural diversity and learning styles of each child, and addressing their social and emotional needs. We want to be assured that this is an innovative curriculum that will truly reach our children and engage them in the learning process, ultimately preparing them for graduation and a successful future. So we do know that parents have been involved in some of the programs. We want to make sure that they're involved in all of the programs. We know that the district leans on the school-based planning teams to ensure joint decision-making, and we want to ensure that parents are on all of those teams. At our December PAC business meeting, members of the school board met with members of the Parent Council to discuss current concerns. One question that was raised was what the board is doing to ensure the rate of African American males graduating with a Regents diploma increases from 9%. We had a lively discussion after we asked that question, but it was clear to us then that there is no clear plan on how this is going to be addressed. But at that meeting, Board Commissioner Van White requested time to address the council to discuss his plan for improving the state of the district. And we'll be meeting with Commissioner White on Monday, January 28th at one of our informational meetings. So we're inviting all parents to be present for this dialogue to engage the commissioner and hear what he plans to say. The council, we also held our January business meeting on January 14th. And one of the major issues we discussed, again, was food service. Parents from various schools have concerns about the quality and the quantity of food, as we've addressed before. We did have an opportunity to meet with the new director of food services and the executive chef, and they've agreed to meet with us to address some of our concerns. On January 12th, members of the council attended the school expo at the convention center to raise awareness of the council and our role in representing parents at the district level. We were able to recruit new parents to the council Our board does go up to 23 members, and so we're definitely trying to fill all of those seats to make sure that we have a full representation of parents from across the district. As far as the executive school-based planning meeting, work is still being done to bring all schools into compliance with the requisite number of members from each constituency. At present, 34%, or more than 1/3 of our schools, are still not in compliance with having at least 3 parents on the school-based planning team. These schools are number 2, number 3, number 4, number 7, 10, 16, 25, 29, 35, 39, 45, and 57, along with All City High, Freddie Thomas, Edison High School, Northeast College Prep, Rochester International Academy, School Without Walls Commencement, and the Leadership Academy for Young Men. Now, this information is gathered by the Office of Parent Engagement. Mr. Willie Robinson, as the coordinator, reaches out to the principals to get information on who the parents are on these school-based planning teams. And he is relying on these principals to respond. So if any of these schools are in compliance, they are not responding to OPE when they're asking for this information. We've also addressed this issue at the executive school-based planning team, and we have, I know that Willie has also contacted the zone chiefs to make sure that we're getting compliance on these, for these schools. So what we're asking is that OPE be given the support they need in order to gather this information so that we have accurate information. We're also asking that if these schools are not in compliance, that the board hold the superintendent, the zone chiefs, and the principals accountable for making sure that we have the requisite number of parents on these committees, attending the meetings, and involved in the decision-making process. In general, we also want to commend the district on its responsiveness to parent concerns. Last month, we had a concern from middle school parents that their children would not be able to go to school during exam week. The 7th and 8th graders would not be able to attend school during exam week because of the exams. So we brought this concern to the district, and we realized that middle school students were in fact able to go to school this week because of changes that the district addressed. So we wanted to acknowledge that and thank the district for doing that. In addition, we had concerns specifically about the application process for a School of the Arts, and that their process for entry was done in advance of the school expo. And some parents were left out of that process because they didn't know that they had to submit their paperwork in December. We addressed that as well with the district, and at the school expo, parents were in fact able to have their children apply for SOTA. So we want to thank you for that. However, we do want to encourage School of the Arts to be on the same schedule as the rest of the schools so that parents have equal opportunity to apply to School of the Arts as well. But in general, parents are still feeling excluded from many of the district processes. While there's more movement toward engaging parents in decision-making, it sometimes feels as though it just comes at the whim of the district or when it's required by an outside entity. And even when parents are consulted, it normally comes at the last minute when parents do not have ample time to review and discern the information that is being provided. I have a very specific example of this with the current SIG grant application process. The SIG grants are due tomorrow, Friday the 25th. It was brought to my attention on Tuesday, January 22nd, that they needed me to sign off on the SIG grants to have a parent signature. It wasn't until today we were able to speak to someone at the district to actually find out what's being written in for the parent component. I was given the paperwork to sign tonight, but still, again, I don't have any information on what the parent component is going to be. So for something that is going to be applied for by tomorrow, parents need to be more informed of what's happening here. And we do understand the efforts were made to reach parents at the school level, but we don't think that all modes of communication were exhausted, and that should have been done. So we just, again, want to urge the district that if you're truly looking for parent involvement and engagement, that you take the steps necessary to do that, to alert parents early enough. And lastly, we just want to say that parents do stand united in calling for the board to adopt and enforce a policy that states that parents must be informed whenever a member of the district staff is suspected in engaging in behaviors that are harmful to our children, which causes them to be removed from the classroom or suspended from performing their job duties. Commissioner Evans, we're pleased to hear you say that you also had those questions, and we look forward to seeing that policy in place.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that, any questions for Ms. Lucas? Commissioner?
I'd just like to ask if you and parent council officers would be willing to check in with the schools that have extended learning opportunities, the pilot schools, and report back to us next month in terms of level and quality of parental involvement
Absolutely.
in the planning process. If parent council officials would be willing to do that, that would be great. And I also want to say I have sent an email. I don't mean this to be annoying, but the School 10 has had a fully constituted school-based planning team ever since the beginning of the year. They had elections at the beginning of the year. They have, and I've sent this in an email, but I'm going to say it in public so that it can get corrected. Rebecca Wolf, Area Camion Lind, and Ricardo Adams are the school-based planning representatives at School 10.
Okay.
So there may be issues on other schools as well. We may be doing better than we think.
Right. I think that this needs to be audited. I'm glad that you bring it every month, so that way corrections could be, can be made. So that needs to be corrected. Thank you. Commissioner White.
Yeah, I want to highlight what a major improvement this has been. I've been on the board, I think, 6 years. It's hard to believe, but it's incredible to get these reports. If anybody was here 2, 3 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, we just didn't have this kind of voice. Now, obviously, we have a ways to go, but I got to tell you, when you think about the opportunities now that parents have to offer critical input and to be critical and complementary, which sometimes your reports consist of a blend of both. It not only happens from the Parent Advisory Council, which a few years ago, as everybody will tell you here, was a complete disaster. It was a complete, you folks who weren't around, you have no idea what a major improvement this is. I mean, just in terms of the representation, and credit goes to a number of administrations, but presently the current administration with Willie and previously Gladys bring the quality organization together, and you and your colleagues, the work that you do is just incredible, and it is a major improvement. And then again, when you take into account that we have parents on each of our committees, once again, the voices may not be consistently heard out in the schools where it needs to be heard, but increasingly at central office, they're heard where they were not heard before. I mean, the fact that Commissioner Adams can say, well, wait a second, that information is not correct, we wouldn't have even known. We wouldn't have been even having this dialogue at central office. So I think even where we find out that there's some glitches, I think that's a major improvement. The other thing that I would just note for my colleagues' attention is that the Parent Advisory Council will tell you, for quite some time, I have struggled with this notion of how do we get parents even more engaged, right? And the topic that she referenced earlier on is parent report cards, and you've probably read some blogs about that conversation that we're having on the internet about parent report cards. So that's the subject that she referenced, and I'm going to be speaking on. The board has been talking about a broader, has been having a broader discussion about what we could do, and that is translating into the board goals. But the conversation that she's referencing that I'm going to go speak about is a conversation that I've been longing to have for quite some time, which is parent report cards. And there's a good conversation happening out there on the internet, and some of it's not, in favor of the idea, and some of it is. But I think that's the kind of conversation that we have to have. And I suspect, given the robocall and given the interest, and some people do not like the idea. Now, I didn't say a lot of people, but I've read some people who do not want parents evaluated. And I will give my comments about that tomorrow and at that meeting. But I think the conversation, both sides, the conversation that needs to take place, and I appreciate the Parent Advisory Council giving me that opportunity to talk about that particular tool. We're evaluating everybody from principals to superintendents to board members and teachers. As my colleagues will tell you, if you want to ensure the success of a child, you want to bridge that achievement gap is anchored at both ends, one by a parent and the other by teachers. And if we don't begin to assess what we as parents can do to make our schools and our students better, I think we'll be failing our students. So that's the conversation I wanted folks to know. It's not a broader conversation about school improvements, a conversation specifically about an idea called a parent report card. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lucas. Thank you.
Just want to say thank you.
You got some more questions?
No, I just wanted to.
Commissioner, former
Commissioner is better.
Former Commissioner Vargas. And
I like that job. It's much easier.
Yeah.
But
so you think?
I will say that thank you again for, like Commissioner White is saying here, it's important that you bring us your input, and it is taken serious, although we don't have a panacea for everything that you bring to us, and we wish we could. And I ask in the administration to ask more expeditiously. But also, I will ask of you to please tell parents that we now have parking for them here in central office. And I want to commend the administration, members of my team, because they have given their parking lot. So if you come here in the middle of the day and you need to park your car, there is parking available for parents. And and this is something that we've been listening to you as well and other in terms of what we need to do for parents here. And again, thank you for your services, but help us get us the word up there, because I still see the parking lot it's not being used, and I suspect that the parents don't know yet that they could park in there.
Okay.
So there's parking for you next time you come to central office.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Cruz.
Yes. Ms. Lucas, just a real quick bit of info, it's FYI. We are in the process of beginning to look for folks to serve on our committees again this year. And so if you haven't, you will soon receive some notification about that with the specifics. And applications are due to the Board of Education by 5 o'clock on March the 15th. So we got some time to go out and recruit. As you know, we have one representative on all of our, most of our committees: Audit, Community and Intergovernmental Relations, Excellence and Student Achievement, Finance, and the Policy Committee. And I have to tell you, from my own experiences, and I'm sure I can say this on behalf of the other board members, our committees are that much better with having parent reps there. We've had some wonderful parent reps who have really involved themselves in the process and really know what they're talking about. So it's good stuff. So as you and your group come together, please relay that information to them so we can get some good candidate pool. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll be brief in my report. First off, you heard from Ms. Lucas about the Parent Advisory Committee meeting on Monday, February 11th, 6 o'clock here in this room. I encourage folks to attend. I cannot believe this, but Black History Month is coming up again next month. Our first event is a Taste of Soul, Friday, February 1st, 5:30 to 7:30. We have almost reached capacity. But we're going to have a variety of mouth-watering classic African-American dishes that will be prepared by the students of the East High School Culinary Program, and there will be performances by the 58 School Crystal Gem Step Team, the number 9 Earthquake Shaker Step Team, and the number 19 Strings for Success. And then on the 9th at 1 p.m. over at Wilson, we're going to have our fashion show, Beautiful America. That's going to be at 200 Genesee Street. That's at Wilson Foundation Academy. And then our Black History Month observance is, our board meeting is Thursday. It's on Valentine's Day, our board meeting. It's on February 14th. So, sorry, Ed Lopez, you're going to miss your honey. But February 14th is the board meeting. It's moved up early because of February break. Also, the board and the administration will be soliciting feedback on the budget. There's a couple of public information sessions that are going to be held Monday, February 4th, which should be a national holiday. It's my birthday. 5:30 to 7:30 at Rochester International Academy on the Jefferson campus. Wednesday, February 6th, we will have the State of Our Schools at 7 p.m. Tuesday, February 12th, budget open house 5 to 7 here at Central Office, 3rd floor. And then February 26th, 6 to 8, Montessori Academy on the Franklin campus. So February is a very, very busy month. Also, February 5th, Commissioner Adams mentioned this. Parents, community members are invited to attend a special meeting of the Board of Education to discuss the Common Core curriculum and instructional approaches, as well as the new accountability designation for the school. We're going to learn about what the Common Core is all about. We encourage parents and other community folks to attend these meetings. The State Department of Education has changed its accountability measures, as many people know. Priority, focus, and reward. What does it mean? We're going to put Miss Anita Murphy on the hot seat, so she'll be responsible for giving us the Reader's Digest version on what this all means and how it impacts the district. So schools should come out to this, parents should come out to this, community people should come out to this. This is what we used to call back in college kind of like a teach-in, where you come in and you're going to learn about what does it all mean and how it affects us. And that's on February 5th. And pay attention to the board calendars. We have a lot of meetings. The month of February, a lot of events going on. I also want to give a shout out to the folks, Mr. Superintendent, who were responsible for the expo. Once again, a very successful event. I enjoyed attending. I also enjoyed reading. I enjoyed seeing Willie Robinson reading with big glasses and a bow tie. And I believe that also Mr. Ed Lopez, the mayor, and others also provided reading to students. Commissioner Cruz also read. I think almost every board commissioner was there. I read a book in Spanish. Thank God it wasn't caught on videotape, but I got through it. Yeah, I think I did okay. So thank you to your team for another great event. You know, I surveyed people. I asked people, random people. I said, "Did you find this useful? Was it good?" And almost everyone said that they found it useful as a one-stop shop. There was one gentleman who came at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock when it opened, took his kids to soccer, and then came back and stayed for the rest. So that I think illustrates the importance of the information that are there. That is there, and also I think another key point, Mr. Superintendent, that was great was your team, your staff was dispersed. They were dispersed throughout. They were dispersed throughout the crowd to answer questions around placement and other issues. So that was good. Someone came up to me and said, "Well, who do I go? What do I help with kindergarten registration?" And I could just say, "Hey, go over there. They'll deal with it for you." So I greatly appreciate your team's work on that event. Thank you.
I want you to make sure they continue to do that until May.
Until May. That's right. Commissioner Powell.
Congratulations on your hour on WXXI.
Oh,
this
thank
week.
you. I forgot about that.
And also to Van, who was on, was it yesterday, Van? We actually ought to start putting our radio appearances on the calendar too, because I'm coming up on Wednesday and the superintendent is coming up February 7th.
Probably.
Yeah, February 7th. Well, I was happy that I didn't get any, shall I say, difficult callers. So that always makes it a lot easier. So I want to thank my colleagues for their hard work and thank them in advance for February, which is going to be a tough month, and then March and April because budget's coming up. That concludes our reports. We're going to move to the consideration of the resolutions, but before we do that, we're going to take a pause for the cause of about 2 minutes, and then we will come right back. Thanks. Go ahead. 28 school. They've been without heat all week.
Somebody at 28 schools.
Okay, we will now be called back to order. We do have an executive session. We do have an executive session tonight. Mary, what number is that one? 398. 398. Yes. We already have to talk about 393 in executive session. We're also going to talk about 398 in executive session also. And 398 in exec session. You know, these new microphones make me think I can sing. Check one.
Don't do it.
Yeah, you might not.
No, you are not Barack.
I know.
It's a different president.
Yeah. All right, so 393, 398, we're going to talk about an executive session. So I entertain a motion for resolutions 394 through 415 with the exceptions of 393 and 398.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second?
Second.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Seconded by Commissioner Campos. Any questions or concerns around 394 through 415 with the exception of 398?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to table Resolution 415. I believe you might have had an opportunity to speak to the superintendent. I just think that there perhaps we could all benefit from having a little more time to discuss this particular resolution.
Yes, there's a motion to table. As you know, a table goes straight to a vote. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor of tabling 415, please say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. And we'll discuss, as I told the superintendent, next week sometime. And if we can even maybe on the way out tonight get some further background, and then we can deliberate on that a little bit. So 394 through 415, with the exception of 393, which is going to be, we're going to talk about in exec session, and 398, we're also going to talk about in exec session. All those in favor of 393 through 414, please say aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. 416 through 419 are additional pay. And I just want to commend the administration. Mr. Superintendent, you have almost a perfect record of resolutions for additional pay being on time and early. We haven't approved any late resolutions, I would say, in the last 6, 7, 8, 9 months. So I want to thank you and your team for that. I'll entertain a motion for 416 through 419.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. 420 through 425 are educational facilities. These have all gone through the Finance Committee. Commissioner Powell, anything you want to add on those? Thank you. I entertain a motion for 420 through 425.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of 420 through 425, please say aye.
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 The ayes have it. Thank you. 426 to 427 also went through Finance. These are IM&T resolutions for InfoSnap and NSCS Pearsons. I entertain a motion for 426 to 427.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Question.
Questions? Commissioner Adams?
Question on 427, which is NCS Pearson. It describes this as being like an auxiliary program, which is supposed to collaborate with the InfoSnap program or application that is supposed to make lottery and registration go smoothly and interface, is my understanding. What does this Pearson application add that InfoSnap that we're paying for is unable to do?
I can answer that question. So InfoSnap is the new system that is the online student application system. So all student applications will, actually they are, we're starting to use it now, will be entered into the online student application system. There will be no more paper forms. All the forms will be in the system. There's a document repository and everything. Now, Pearson is the owner of our Chancery Student Information System. So what we've done is we have integrated InfoSnap with our Chancery system. So the Pearson contract is for the integration piece. So Pearson is customizing Chancery to allow for all of the to allow the InfoSnap system to talk to Chancery. So all of the data that is entered into the InfoSnap system will flow to Chancery and will update Chancery. And so the student information will then be in the Chancery system. Now, in addition, we're writing the custom lottery process in Chancery. So Pearson is doing that work as well. So the lottery process will begin with the online student registration system as well. So where before there were paper applications for the lottery process, the actual applications will be within the InfoSnap system, which will then flow to Chancery, and the lottery process will actually be within the Chancery system. So it's this whole integration piece. So there's the two vendors. Pearson owns Chancery, they're the owner of Chancery, and InfoSnap is the actual student information system. The online student registration system. Does that help?
It's impossible to accomplish this without paying them to collaborate?
They're writing custom code for our custom lottery process. It is a custom.
If you don't have capacity here to do that?
No, we cannot write the custom process within the Chancery system. No, we cannot do that.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, Commissioner Powell.
Yeah, Anne Marie, I thought that the lottery code was already in Chancery. I thought we'd been running our lottery through Chancery for years. Can you tell me how to reconcile what you just told me?
Vicki, did you want to explain?
It is, the lottery code is there. What is not there right now is this application process with the InfoSnap, and then having that documentation feed in of that application that they're doing so that it falls into it. Not touching lottery codes, those are there. What they're doing is taking that template to make sure that with that application that's now filled online goes into the right fields. But they're not, the codes are there.
Oh, I see. Actually, that doesn't entirely satisfy my concern, though, because the code that is there still has some legacy information from our transition year of school choice, which basically says there's the half-mile radius, but then if you are outside the half-mile radius, it says, and oh, by the way, if you live within the old school boundary lines, you're also Prox A. Instead of using the Prox B that Dr. William Mr. Else created for us, and that logical path. Is there any hope that that could be corrected while we're taking care of this, or is that getting into?
The .5 is going to be, no, the .5 is going to be existent. We've spoken a lot about those pieces, and then the other sections with the transportation and the streets is being corrected. You're correct about that.
So that's part of the.
We have, since our meeting, I think was in the fall that you had with us about those addresses and the GPS, we were all together in the summit.
Long time ago.
We are working on that, and Jeff Rogers and with transportation has been building that, and that is also being all shared. So we're on target with your concerns.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else on resolutions 426 to 427? Thank you. All those in favor of 426 to 427, please say aye.
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 No on 427.
No on 427, 1 no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. 428 through 438 are other. I entertain a motion for 428 through 438. So moved. It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. The ayes have it, with the exception of 433, which was tabled. Any questions, comments, or concerns on 428 through 438?
I have a comment on 431.
Comment on 431, Commissioner Adams.
I will be voting no for 431. Regardless of whether this is funded by a specific grant that encourages the use of resources on the spending, I don't think it's a wise use of public resources. This is 1.3 or $1.5 million for 7th and 8th graders for a 5-month period approximately, giving them boosts in terms of preparing for algebra and preparing for or encouraging advanced literacy. I think, this money could be
much, much more wisely spent on reducing class sizes, on literacy enrichment that we know works and is proven for our children, for our student population. And I think this is an example that I was speaking about earlier of where we really are being led to really bleed out public resources for, private gain. This again is Pearson Corporation, prepackaged programs that are intended to prepare children for algebra and to encourage literacy. And I really think that our resources are better spent on our professional teachers who are very, very capable in math. I know we have a very capable math department that has worked very hard to align with Common Core, and I have every confidence in our teaching staff and in our academic leadership that this can be accomplished much more effectively through other ways. So I'm going to vote no, and that's the rationale for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Anything else on 428 to 438? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And no for Commissioner Adams on 431. That concludes our resolutions. We have no unfinished business from a previous meeting. We do have an information item for you to peruse, which is the policy against harassment of students and employees. Please read that and be prepared to discuss it at the February meeting. We have finished our speakers. Our next meeting will be here on Ed Lopez's favorite day, February 14th, Valentine's Day. So we'll have some nice music playing and some candy hearts to mark the occasion, specifically for Mr. Lopez. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. So moved. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. We are going into executive session. And if anyone is interested in watching us adjourn, we're going to be adjourning from the second floor. So you can wait in the lobby if you want, if you're interested in staying around. But hopefully we'll be adjourning quickly. So I'll see everyone downstairs. Thank you. Oh, and also, commissioners, please take artwork that you have. I plan on taking this to my office. Please take this, the artwork that was made by students and hang it at home or in your offices. Thank you.